In the previous video, we did a lot of unplugging, removing hoses, unscrewing. So today, basically what my goal is to remove the engine. First thing I'm going to do is move the windshield washer reservoir, so I can gain easier access to that bolt right there. So I'm going to use a 10mm socket, unscrew that, and then we're going to move this out of the way a little bit. Okay, so now that I got it unscrewed, to move it, there's a little notch in here. So all you have to do is just slightly massage that out. You have to first lift it up a little bit and then push. There it is. It's out of the way now. Okay, so there's one little plastic cover here and another one right here. Those hide the bolts that connect to this mount, and then there's one mount right in there. So I'm going to take these two covers off. You can probably just put a screwdriver in and pop those off, and then we'll go to the bolts. So right on the front we have two bolts. These are both 14mm, and in the second well we also have two 14mm nuts in there. I'm going to use a 14mm deep well socket to get those bad boys out. Okay, so on the underside we have two 17mm nuts that go to that engine mount right there. I don't really feel like undoing the bolts there, so I'm just gonna undo these two guys right here. Both of them are 17mm, so I'm gonna quickly undo those two. Okay, so now that I got my crane ready to pull out the engine, I got it hooked up to this hook right here, and there's a hook back here. I have those two hooked up. Now what I'm going to do is unscrew this 17mm bolt. I have my 17mm socket right here. I'm going to unscrew this one, go to the other side and unscrew it, and then we're going to start pulling out the engine. Okay, so the world isn't perfect. I'm going to need to remove this engine mount right here. There are two 12mm bolts. I'm just going to loosen this one and unscrew this one so I can just turn it over. And then right on the underside, you see that there are two. They go on the underside. There are two 14mm bolts and one 14mm right back in there. Another thing you're going to need to remove is this bracket right here. These are also three 14mm bolts. I'm going to remove it just so I can get enough clearance to get the transmission out. The engine is almost out. I just need a little bit more clearance to get the engine out. I'm going to use this 2x4 right here. I'm going to prop it up somewhere against here, just so I can get the extra clearance. Okay, so I got it propped up. This is as high as it's gonna go. That gives me, like, if it goes straight up, like 3-4 inches of clearance. So I'm gonna keep going and we'll see how it turns out. Okay guys, so the engine is out of the bay. I just need to pull it out a little bit. A few tips I have for you. There are a lot of things on here that I did not remove just because I know I could get away with it. Because my engine puller thing, because I can adjust the angle, you can just say massage the engine out the right way. There are a few things that you should remove if you do not have the ability. For sure, this thing up here, you're probably gonna need to remove this, and the harmonic balancer. That was kind of getting in the way. But just because I could adjust my angle, I got away with that. If you can't adjust your angle, these are some things you might need to remove. So earlier on, I mentioned that you did not need to remove this mount. There was a pillow, I guess you could say, that went into there, and I said you did not need to remove that. I was really wrong. You need to remove it because the pillow or whatever, it does not want to come out. It's really hard to get it in, and it's really hard to get it out. So you're going to need to unscrew it to pull out the engine easier. I got stuck on that. It took me quite a few, like maybe half an hour before I got it out, just because I didn't want to put the engine back in and pull it out. But anyway, so I got the engine out. I'm going to pull it all the way out. Okay, so now that the engine bay is free, I'm going to go get my pressure washer that my friend let me borrow. And I'm just going to go over it with the pressure washer, see how it looks